ألا من كنت مولاه فهذا علي مولاه. اللهم وال من والاه وعاد من عاداه.
Abzan converted to Islam in the early 90s, influenced by other converts to Islam from a similar background.
My parents were obviously from the Caribbean. You'll find people from African Caribbean background. They had a strong Christian background. So although most of my family members wasn't very religious, where I felt in myself there was an urge to believe in God.
And when did you first hear about Islam, and what was your first experience of Islam?
Interestingly, when I used to go to school, there was a boy, and I heard that he was fasting, but I didn't really understand the nature of what he was fasting or as such. So that was in my school days. It's only now I realise, oh, he's a Muslim as such, because he's one of those who was fasting, so he was at school. So that was, I would say, the very early stages of recognising Islam. But I think it really came about maybe years and years later.
At what point in your life did you feel like you wanted to delve more into Islam and find out more, as like this could be a potential religion that you might follow?
As I was a Christian, I used to read the Bible very heavily. In fact, my dad used to say, oh, you should become a preacher. And it sort of like set a light in my brain, become a preacher. To become a preacher, I've got to understand the Bible. I've got to be able to get a full understanding of the whole religion as a sense. So this was the beginning of, I think this was the opening door when my dad said, you should become a preacher. As such, that opened the door for me to go out there and do thorough research into Christianity as such. So I decided to buy all the necessary books as such. So this is another avenue for me to get insight into Islam via Christianity. Well, obviously, reading the New Testament, it speaks about one to come after Jesus. So in trying to find out who's this particular person who's going to come after Jesus, it enlightened me to purchase quite a few videos at the time. And these videos were by Ahmadiyya, having conversations, debates with Christians, and in doing so, he used to challenge all the different notions of Christianity, Jesus, and the Bible. So that was quite an interesting insight into giving me a doorway towards Islam.
What made you follow this specific religion?
First, I had to convince myself that there was no God but Allah. In doing that, researching, going through the Old Testament and the New Testament, because in the Old Testament it talks about one God. In the New Testament, again, it emphasises one God over and over again. And in the Quran, it mentions one God. So the concept that Muhammad was the prophet of God, I had to, again, I was using different documentaries and doing a lot of reading. One of the hardest things I thought I would struggle with is the fasting. I said, if I could overcome the fasting, maybe this is going to be an easy religion. I heard that it was Ramadan, so I said, oh, let me endure and see what Ramadan's all about. So I participated with the Muslims in the Ramadan. So once I felt, oh, this was quite an interesting journey. Once I overcome the Ramadan, I think I could enjoy this religion quite happily. After compiling a sufficient amount of information, I felt I was ready to say my Shahada. I had a lovely brother who assisted me in whatever questions I had. His name was Muhammad Suleiman, so he was giving me guidance into giving me understanding of this particular religion.
Abzan has taken me to meet Muhammad Suleiman, who himself converted to Islam in 1984.
Muhammad, this is Saha, which I'd like you to meet.
Nice to meet you.
2 years after his conversion, Suleiman started preaching Islam to many young men from Afro-Caribbean backgrounds living in London, including Abzan. I asked Suleiman how he met Abzan and how he influenced him to turn to Islam.
Well, the first time I met Abzan, I believe, was about 14 years ago, yes. And I remember I was on my way, I think I was shopping at the time, and I recall that Abzan was near Peckham, here in South London, and it's a train station called Peckham South, or Peckham Ride train station. I remember seeing him there, engaging, I think, two other individuals, I believe, at the time. One of them, I believe, was from the Nation of Islam, and another one was from a Muslim group, not an Orthodox group, but they were called Holy Tabernacle Ministries.
Right.
And I think there could have been another person there. I think there might be two or three of you. But anyway, there was a conversation taking place, and I can't resist debate. That's what my weakness is. So I remember, I think the Nation brother and the brother from the Holy Tabernacle Ministries was debating each other. Abzan was there listening intently. I think he asked them one or two questions, I believe.
Yeah.
Anyway, I heard this discussion, went over, found it interesting, and then I just started engaging these two brothers. And because of the way he was asking questions, I just felt this kind of sincerity within him to be looking for the truth. So I remember engaging these two brothers, speaking to them, and just almost, just questioning their belief, and not in a bad way, but just trying to pull out the kernel of what's the truth in what they're saying, perhaps to assist him to come to some understanding. Anyway, because of this way I was engaging these two these brothers at the time, Abdul and I struck up a conversation, and then when these people left, he and I, we had our own discussion, and he was asking me questions about Islam, and what's the difference between the Bible and the Quran, what is the difference between our beliefs, my belief as a Muslim, and the beliefs that the Nation of Islam held, and these other groups, and also as well, he asked me about the Sunni and the Shia difference as well, because there were some questions that he wanted answers before he could come to this opinion that he wanted to come to. But from the outset, he was very much saying he wanted to become a Muslim. He had a great interest in Islam, but he just had to have some of the issues kind of resolved to the best of his abilities. And so that's the kind of searching, inquiring mind that I've always experienced Abzan to have. Someone that absolutely just wants to find the truth in the discussion, but in a very humble and respectful way.
So how was the route to the conversion? What happened during the conversion?
Well, I have a way of when I meet people that I believe that you have to get to know the person. You have to kind of, you meet them regularly like we did. So we arranged to meet. We met regularly. He would ask me, he would say, have you got any literature or any books you can guide me to? If you can bring any information yourself, bring it. So we would meet at his house, or he'd come to my house, and we just formed a friendship after that point, like a bond. And it wasn't like, we're a friendship because you have to become Muslim. It was just two people who were very inquisitive about life, very, very interested in what's happening around them. And basically from that's how we kind of spawned this friendship. And it lasted months, wasn't it? It was literally started off as days and weeks, and then got into months. And what I did with him was I'd say, listen, anytime I'm going to the mosque, fancy coming along? He'd be like, yeah, why not? I said, you can meet other Muslims, other people similar to my thought and opinion on life. Have a word with them, see what you think, up to you, make your decision. So he would say, okay, cool. And so he came along with me to a few Islamic functions, Islamic events. He would come to the mosque. And the more he came along, and he got to meet other friends of mine, the more he could see, well, hey, Muslims are not like, as they're painted in the media. They're just statues of human beings, normal people, getting on with life. But also as well, he liked the intellectual, inquisitive side of Islam. And he's a very spiritual person. So that light of Islam, the spiritual light of Islam, really attracted him. So the more we engage more Muslims, the more he was able to go to, we'd even go to the church as well. And then he would say, well, or we go to the nation meetings with him. I'd go to nation meetings with him. Wherever he felt comfortable to go, I said, I'll go with you, because I'll show you that Islam has an answer and a solution and can answer your questions. So that's what we did.
So Mohammed, if you can tell us how Abzan was before he converted, and what changes you see in him now, after he converted?
Well, how he was when I first met him and how he is now, I would say, if anything, he's a more spiritual person. He's always been spiritual, but now he seems to emanate that more. He also he's always been very interested in reading and an intellectual, philosophical approach to Islam. But now he's got this he's more voracious in his ability to want to read, to want to pass information on. We set up this, we used to have this kind of like Islamic kind of education program, him and I. And we would sell cassette tapes. For those who don't know what cassette tape is, like an old way of passing information on. And we would sell cassette tapes, we used to print booklets. And a lot of this production of the means of education and propagation was primarily Abu Sabi, because he was always insisting that this message, because it's the truth, we have to get it out there. We have to spread this knowledge. So he's always been someone, once he commits to something, he gives 100%, in fact 110% in what he commits to. And I, for one, have been honoured and awed and inspired by him, you know, over the years. He always comes with something different. He always brings a different dimension, a different, deeper understanding to Islam, and helps to strengthen my faith. So I think it's been an enriching experience meeting him.
When I first was Muslim, I was thinking, should I tell this person or should I tell that person? So I remember once when this was in the first 2-3 months that I was a Muslim, and I used to hang around with quite a few different organisations. One of these organisations just didn't like Islam, in a sense. So I was thinking, when am I going to face them to tell this particular person I'm a Muslim? And I went 1 week to see them, and I just couldn't get it out. Then I went another week, it was like a spirit was just standing there saying, get it out. Interestingly, someone who knew me as a Muslim, he said, oh, you're a Muslim now? So it came out. I went, so that was a strange one, that was an interesting one. So that person, they was on the store, they sold product. So when they heard I was a Muslim, their face went, what? So they was a bit shocked. So it took someone else to push me in a way to confirm, yes, I'm a Muslim now. Probably a few other people probably found it a bit difficult to say you're Muslim, but I think once they see that you continue in a good spirit in how you conduct yourself as a human being, I think they gradually adapt to you as a continuous friend that they've known for so many years. I haven't told like everybody at work. I don't go around work, for instance, and say, I'm a Muslim. I just leave it for others to maybe find out, or leave it for them to come to me and ask me specific questions. But whoever's asked, in fact, I had an accident. You do get situations, say like during Ramadan, when they say, oh, you have to drink water. You can't go this long period of time without drinking water or eating something. Just have a biscuit. So in their eyes, they're thinking it's not perceivable that someone should go whatever period of time without food or water. They start thinking, what kind of strange God is this? That he's allowing you to go without food or water for this period of time. And it links back to thinking about those who haven't even got water, food, anything in their cupboards. So how dare we as humans who are constantly consuming food and water and drinks and whatever, not even reflect on those who hadn't even got anything in their house? Or I find one of the most challenging aspects today for me is trying to give the interpretation that Islam is a religion, particularly, well, it's a religion for everybody, for humanity itself, but because I meet a lot of people from the African Caribbean community, and a lot of them call themselves Pan-Africanists, they find it hard to believe that we should adopt Islam. In their eyes, they see Islam as being an Arab religion as such, and they also see it as being the slave master. Islam enslaved people of African descent. So The challenge for me has been to promote that Islam is actually the religion which spread in West Africa and established some of the greatest empires that have been known to Africa, for instance. Not just in Egypt, in Mali, in Senegal, well, a whole portion of West Africa flourished for about, 600 years, longer than that, as an Islamic empire, and it done what not even part of the Arab world managed to do, in the sense of establishing universities and assisting in helping Spain develop. So I think that's a major challenge for me, to try and promote Islam from that it's a natural religion for people of African descent. I love reading the Quran. Alhamdulillah, I've been able to remember chapters of the surah of the Quran by heart, which is more beneficial. So that's what I've endeavoured to do, to learn as many surahs by heart in Arabic and in English. Before I became a Muslim, I was obviously one of those who were afflicted with the negative images of the women, the men, and the Prophet Muhammad being of a certain character, Islam having a kind of a very monstrous approach. It's not the kind of religion which you approach. And I think people unfortunately adopted other spiritual religion because they didn't believe Islam catered for their needs. So due to me deciding to take the necessary time to research the very nature of what Islam is really about, rather than what someone presumes it is really about, it gave me the opportunity to look into it properly. And due to what I found out, I embraced Islam. And once I embraced Islam, I adopted the content that I want to promote Islam. I first have to promote it in the best cause myself, so I have to be the best example first. Then I have to help those who's helped me to become Muslim, to give the better portrayal of what Islam really stands for. So one of the programs that we did put in place was actually you have to meet the people. We used to be on the street. You got to be on the streets to talk to the masses of the people, because you'll find out that they're really naive to what the true interpretation of Islam is. So being on the streets, talking to individuals of the true meaning of Islam is quite essential. In fact, this is what we've done for about 4 or 5 years, where we was on the street. We had a banner, "There's no God but Allah, Muhammad's the Messenger." And we gave out booklets and tapes and other products which gave everybody a basic understanding of what Islam stands for. The actual, you have to also set up meetings where you could give everybody an opportunity to ask questions on their curiosity on different angles of what they presume Islam stands for. I have family members who ask me quite a lot of questions on different angles, and I say, "Oh, that's what you've been told, but what the Quran and what the authentic Hadith says." Allah deserves all the praises for what He has bestowed upon me. I got a better insight into how I should live, how I should treat my family, how I should look on the Muslim world as a whole. I feel you just cannot praise Allah enough for what He has bestowed upon us. Assalamu alaikum. This is our regular Wednesday Quran session where we go through different chapters of the Quran, and we have individuals who will give their understanding on the particular chapter, and we would all as a whole join in and give our understanding also. There's like a question and answer. Everybody gets involved, so it's not just like a lecture where you hear a sheikh give a particular talk, then everyone asks questions and answers. This one is more of a gathering for everybody to participate and feel part of a communal session where we all learn from one another, different understanding of the Quran itself. These sessions, alhamdulillah, have been run for about 3 years now, so the attendance is quite balanced, where sometimes we have a lot, other times we have just a few, but the incentive is just to keep rolling. And even if, because the Quran says, even if there's 2 or 3 of you, come together and get an understanding of the meaning of the Quran. So that is the very basic of what we do on the Wednesdays sessions here. We have sessions at this location, and we also have a session in another location in a restaurant where we hope to do some sort of, we're hoping that the people who come inside the restaurants will get enticed to want to join us and understand what we're talking about when it comes to the Quran or even any general Islamic issues. Started off with just 3 of us, then it went to about 5, then it went to 10. So there's roughly about between 6 to 10 people who attend on a regular basis. So considering it's not like a session with a particular well-known established name, it's done quite well, I would say, in a sense. So more people would gradually come along to these sessions as the time ticks away. It's quite early still, so we're just gonna get prepared. I'm gonna probably get myself prepared with what to say as such. Once again, we have arrived at that destination where we are called upon to stand up for the right cause of Al-Islam. We normally end with Surah Asr. I will start with Surah Asr in English today. In the name of Allah, most gracious, most merciful, I swear by time, most surely man is in loss, except those who believe and do good deeds, and enjoy upon each other truth, and enjoy upon each other patience. That very surah which we've gone through in the early stages of when we first started, and we once again went through it again. In fact, it's a surah which you could just keep going over and over again because of the beauty, the gems that are contained into it. But within that it says to enjoy upon each other truth and enjoy upon each other patience. In fact, before that it said man is in loss. As you see, the world is in loss to the knowledge of Al-Islam, and it's our duty as a human being to establish programs where we could elevate one another to have a better understanding, a higher understanding of what Islam means, stands for in its basic sense. So we are striving to, as a being, to be of those who understand truth to a certain degree and to implement it to those who are around us. As the Holy Prophet said, the Holy Quran is Allah's university, so learn as much as you can in this university. Again, the Holy Quran is a very special book. It is just in the sense that it is meant for all times and all generations. And it is the last book of God. All other scriptures have come and gone. They've had certain problems with them, which, alhamdulillah, we are blessed with this particular book, the Holy Quran. As we stated last week, none of us could really find fault with the book. We all agreed that it is the word of Allah, and there was no need to doubt its authenticity, because if there was any faults with it, we would have found them. The Arabs, who knew Arabic better than anybody, would have found fault with it in 1400 years ago.